is Lucy and I. Lucy Ricks is my guest. And just as I was going to push the button, go live, my phone rang, and Lucy's co-collaborator for the book, here's the book, got to put it up here, 50 Years of Miracles. Jason called in, and I thought, oh, this is very, very synchronistic. So welcome, Lucy, and welcome, Jason.
Thank you. Hello.
Very nice. I like it, spontaneous. So I had talked with Lucy last week about having her on just because I thought this book was such a fantastic expression of parables, and many of us relate to the parables. But before I get into the full interview with Lucy, what do you have to say for yourself, Jason?
Well, when Lucy first proposed this book to me, I thought it was a great idea. I didn't know, like many things that are sponsored by the Spirit, that actually Mel, a longtime community member a while back, actually had written and saved hundreds of parables as if the book had already been written. And so just in our collaboration, it was almost like Francis had heard with the movie. I'm just going to step outside here. Francis had heard with the movie, it's already done. That, this would be very, very simple. And then as I was reading these parables, I've heard you speak, David, over the years, all these parables, and sometimes I think, okay, I've heard that one before, but I heard all of these in such a fresh way that I was so inspired every morning to just get up and read a parable or two, or even at night, because something about it being written in this way, I don't know, it's just really inspiring for me. So,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm just glad that you were inspired, and I felt inspired. That's how they seem to all come, because I was just following my happiness and my joy. And I remember at the beginning, I did say to Jesus, I said, am I going to have to come up with parables? Because I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'm a good parable writer. And Jesus laughed, and Jesus told me, don't worry, you just live your life and in an inspired way, and there'll be plenty of parables. You won't have to worry about making them up or generating them. So that's kind of the way it went. So, well, Jason, thank you so much for playing your part, and also for this spontaneous call. Just as I've literally had my finger on to the go live button, and that's when you called in. So I know you want to talk to me about maybe a few other things. So I'll call you back after Lucy and I are off.
Good.
Thank you.
So nice to see you, Jason. Love you.
Beautiful.
Oh, so blessed.
That is amazing. Well, that is kind of a good lead-in, because Francis was just talking yesterday at the online retreat about how she felt that she was told by Jesus that she would be making a movie, and she said when, and basically Jesus told her it was already done. And then basically the question that she had was to Jesus, well, how will I know when it's supposed to start? And he said, when the film team shows up. And then when the film team showed up, that was basically at the beginning of a mystery school, a month-long mystery school. And that's when most of the movie got shot there. And then I did have a beautiful idea and inspiration that I knew Frances and her partner JP wanted to go to Iceland. So I told them there was a contest where they could enter WOW Airlines contest to put a blog out and do some posts and everything. And if they won the grand prize, they would have an all expense paid trip to Iceland. They did not win, but then afterwards I said, I still think you should go to Iceland. And then Francis and JP shot some more footage for their movie, Take Me Home, and had a spectacular trip. And on the way back, Francis said, I had a mystical experience in the plane on the way back from Iceland, and it was everything was worth it, just that mystical experience. So maybe we can talk. Maybe you can just share a little bit about your healing journey, kind of leading up to your encounter with the Course in Miracles, and then the beat goes on, collaborating to pull together the parables in this book. And then I know it wasn't too long ago, Kenneth Clifford and Anna Paola came up. I saw these beautiful, smiley, happy faces on Facebook. I think you had a nice little reunion up there too. So just tell us about your healing journey. It's hard to know sometimes where to start, because where do I jump in on this thing?
Yeah, it really does. I think the whole thing's so quantum, it doesn't really matter where I start. So I could say the Course came into my life at a point where I was really at my lowest, like desperate. Like I finally got what I thought I always wanted. The special relationship. And it went from, I don't know, I thought we was walking off into the sunset, but it turned out to be the flames of hell. So I think I'd ran away at this point, because the relationship got very violent and confusing, and I just didn't really know what to do. I was at my mum's, I think, at the time, and I just read another book which was very fearful. It was about, how to run away, how to escape, all these things, steps you've got to take to get out of a situation. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. And in my mind, I heard A Course in Miracles, like very clearly. And I'd heard of the Course many years before that. I was very into self-help books and all this sort of thing. And I always used to read the bibliographies at the end of books just to see what else I could read. Excuse me. And so many of them referenced A Course in Miracles. It must have kind of got lodged in the back of my mind. And so I heard A Course in Miracles, and I had a Kindle, one of those Kindle tablets at the time.
Yeah.
So within like a couple of minutes, I downloaded the course onto this Kindle, and it started, I think it skipped a lot of the beginning, just started right at the introduction. So I had no context at all about how it came or anything like that. And I started reading, and it was like I recognized Jesus's voice. And it was just, I kept saying, is this you? Is this you? Like, it sounds like you. And finally, like, something definite happened. I think he was talking about the crucifixion or something. I was like, it is you. And then I was like, then it kind of like reeled back in time, all the books I'd read that had that same voice in. I mean, and there was many, like, because I read all kinds of books, even Harry Potter is like, I heard your voice in so many places before. And so I began reading and reading and reading. And I also didn't know how long it was. So it was going on and on. And it was like, it had immediate effect it was like I had a choice between this fearful perspective, which was also true according to how my mind was at the time, very logical. And then there was this Course in Miracles, and it was like I made a choice to do the course, and it just had an immediate effect, like something inside started to like stir, and like it was like getting my best friend back, really. Like, when I was a little girl, I was quite a little miracle worker. I started off good, very close to Jesus, and I was just doing my little miracles and all this. And then, like, I was about 7, I decided I wanted to be cool. you know, and it was not cool at that time in my school to be, well, in my mind, to be a Christian and all this. So I was like, right, Jesus, this is the playground. I was like, I can't be your friend anymore. You know, like maybe one day I'll come back and like I'll carry on. And in my little girl mind, I thought he actually went away. So that it just sort of like up and down, ow, like for many years. And then I think I was about 18 where I had this, it was I was with a group of friends and we started talking about God, and we all had this like joint mystical experience together, and that ended up becoming a Rasta for a few years. Like that, I found a lot of teachings in the reggae music, which was very biblical at the time, you know, and like the philosophy of I and I, meaning like the oneness. I just loved all that. But there was also a lot of guilt in me, which suited being a Rasta, because obviously it was very like Afrocentric at the time. It wasn't really the place for a little white girl. So there's a bit of like racism and stuff I was experiencing, but also many, many, many like mystical experiences. And so that kind of started me back on looking for the truth, really. And what I found was like I seemed to spend a lot of my time in this mind fog. And I thought it was because I smoked loads of weed, you know, like I thought it was the marijuana. So it got to a point, I think, when my third child, Maria, was born, I was like, right, I'm stopping smoking weed. I need to be clear. So I stopped smoking weed, but the mind fog was still there. And so my prayer just came for clarity, for clarity, for clarity. And then my sister was getting into Buddhism, and I did a bit of chanting with her, and I was doing a Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And then one day I just had this huge prayer. I just wanted the truth. And it was probably the truth about a particular situation that I was praying for. But this prayer for the truth, it's like when I come out of the meditation, it was like it had gone in. The prayer had landed somewhere, and I got a bit scared. I was like, oh, what did I ask for? It just started to kind of like just unfold. And so when this special relationship came, I don't know, I just thought I was going to ascend in a load of clouds with a holy partner, and it was going to look like that. And it didn't look like that, but it was still the most rewarding relationship I could ever imagine, because we're not together now, but he's become like my forgiveness muse, because there's so much juice in that kind of relationship for forgiveness. So I'm just so completely grateful, actually. Not every day, I have to admit, but most often it's become very rewarding. Yeah. And then I think I came across your teachings somewhere along the line. Like the memory doesn't hold it all anymore, because every day is so more joyful than the one before. It's like I don't really need to go remembering.
I don't need the timeline for that.
Yeah. But at some point I found your teachings, and there were so many stories that stuck in my mind. I think one of the first ones I heard and loved was that Jesus with the purse, with your friends, the purse. And it just stayed with me. And then after, I think the sound quality wasn't so great with some of those videos, so I kind of what happened? Oh no, I got to a lesson in the course where it was one of the first lessons to go within and look for the light. And I think I kept doing up to lesson 50, then starting again. Then I got to like 70, then I'd start again. And I just had to keep doing that. And I could just never find this light that was being talked about. And I was like, I think this is important. I don't know how to meditate. Like, I didn't even have a clue where to go once I was going inside. So I was kind of guided to go onto YouTube, and I saw Muji, and straight away I felt an affinity because I saw the dreadlocks and the accent. It was sort of very familiar. And it just happened to be day one of his Rishikesh, like a month-long satsang. So I just did the whole month, and he does an invitation to freedom. And when I did that invitation to freedom, it was literally the invitation to freedom. I felt like I found that place, you know.
Literally.
Yeah. And it was just so profound. And I think my boyfriend had even called me after I'd done the first one, and I was so peaceful. Like, he was ringing to shout at me, but like I was just like, no, just like let him just speak. Just like I was just like laying there all blissed out, and it totally changed the whole tone of the it kind of broke that cycle a little. So that was amazing. And then yeah, things continued for quite a long time. Got worse, actually, a lot worse before it ever got better. Then I began to see that this was a reflection of my mind. And I think some of the worst days, because he would have these episodes where the personality that I was having a relationship was like totally gone. Like, he did get a diagnosis as like a schizophrenic personality disorder, but to me it was like he was stepping out, my ego was stepping into his body and like just showing me all this hatred. And I remember reading in the course, like, something you don't know the depth of your own self-hatred or something. He put it much better in the course. And that's literally how it felt. Like, that's what I was seeing, because some of the things he was saying were so personal. I hadn't even told him that before, you know, that I had these feelings. So it was yeah, it was extraordinary. And eventually, like, the relationship kind of, the violence stopped, and we kind of went into a peaceful sort of a situation a bit during lockdown. And then on just a normal Tuesday afternoon, I heard in my mind, it's done, you know, it's complete, sort of thing. And I just went down and told him, and that was kind of it, really. We haven't seen each other since. It was a bit sticky at the end, but yeah. And it just happened to be when I'd started, I think I might have done a retreat with you. The Jesus, Our Beloved Elder Brother was my first retreat. And then there was the free celebration of illumination. And it was really that retreat there where I was so touched by, I think it was supposed to be a skit, but it was one of the most serious, most beautiful expressions I've ever heard with the, what did they call it? COVID. COVID. So Emily was expressing her miracles. Susan, what Susan said just touched me, and it was just incredible. So I tried to volunteer like twice, and then I just kept like, I can't do any of these things. Like, I'm not pressing the button. And then in the middle of the night, one night, it just got, I just knew I was being called, and I was just trying to ignore it. Like I was like, anything else you want me to do? And yeah, in the end, I just put yes to everything. Yes, I can do animation. I can, like,
check all the boxes.
yes, like, tick,
Hesitate, check them all. Send.
I just pressed it. And the response came back so quick. I missed Linda's first email for a call, but then we had our chat, and then next thing you know, she gave me to Ken to be in the social media team, and to work with Lilo on the Big Wash magazine.
Yeah.
So it just happened so quickly. It was like there was no time. It was like, yep, you've asked for healing. Here it comes, and it's happening. And Ken, I call it the Kenneth Clifford finishing school social media, because it just when you're doing it, it just washes everything away over and over again, and all the remnants of ego that was still there. Ken just kept bucket of water for you, bucket of water, like the evangelist in the Pilgrim's Progress. Yeah. And
that's beautiful. So Ken was so uncompromising, leading the social media, and then I think I remember seeing you on a lot of the Time to Get Real, on the Get Real show. That I would show up a lot of those that Ken was doing, and I remember seeing you, and there was a number of people that have kind of even gone on and are really shining and sharing around Europe and other parts of the world, as well as Ken and Anna over there now shining over around Europe and Spain. But it seems like once you say yes, like you said, a big yes, you checked all the boxes, you sent it away, and then things just opened up and accelerated. I know with our ministry and all your extensions that you've done, it seems like we have to go through a bit of a trial period where, the ego is still kicking and screaming a bit, like it doesn't want to come along for the ride. It wants to bail, and it tries to convince our mind to bail. But you just hung in with that during all that. You just really hung in there.
Yeah. I had a lot of help, like so much help. It was beautiful. Like I said, there was so many people pouring themselves out in the expression sessions, and Ken himself set such a beautiful example of that. And it was like, wow, because I always thought my safety lay in keeping private thoughts, don't upset people, if you think it, don't say, whatever you do, don't say it. So it's just, that was such a turnaround for me. And I still have trouble expressing what I call dark thoughts, even though they're the ones that should be expressed. It's like I express my love, but that stuff, it was like a big no-no for me. So it felt like I was being taught by everyone I met how to do this, Yeah. And Ken was he still is such an important, like, mighty companion for me. Yeah.
It's amazing how, the best definition of teaching is to demonstrate, and Ken was such a great example of being transparent with everything. That's like a great witness or an example that it's safe, it's okay. I had another friend, Kenneth Price, who I did a show, I think it was called Escape to Freedom, where I read a letter from a prison friend of mine, Dale, who's been in prison for many years and is still in prison. And he was in prison for murdering a man named Frank, but he had been a boxer, a very prolific boxer, even boxed on ESPN. But he became such an example of, in prison, of practicing the principles of forgiving, that other prisoners around him became more and more aware of it. And then a whole prison ministry started up in Chillicothe in the prison. And then they were able to get movies in and do like some version of like movie gatherings, and it just took off. He's been transferred to another prison now, so now he's starting again to light up. But my friend Kenneth Price, who I had on recently on a live, he was so touched by the emails. He became a pen pal with Dale, and then he collected over 100 emails that he'd received, and he put them into a PDF file. So what you've done with this book and the parables, it seems to be replicating itself in different ways, where people are feeling the same inspiration, to put them all and compile them into a book, a PDF file. And then Kenneth was taking it down to Mexico to share with friends in Mexico. So it's like the gift just keeps on giving. When you have the breakthrough and you feel the joy and are lifted up, then the Spirit just says, okay, we'll just keep the seeds being planted, keep spreading the good news. And wow, amazing. Just amazing how those miracles work.
No, it really is. It really is. And I never expected any of this, least of all because I never finish anything. Like, I've done so many different things in my life, and I do it for a bit and it's like, no, this isn't it. So I've got like a multitude of skills, but writing a book wasn't one of them. I mean, I may have written a small book, like 10 pages, but so when it came complete, and it was like, I don't know. I was like, my main memories from the time was I was just sitting at my computer watching these hands fly over the keyboard like Lucy in the movie. It was just like, and I was just watching this master at work, and like it was so quantum. It was like he was zooming me backwards and forwards in time. Your life, my life, Marguerite's life, all kind of merged. That everyone's, I became like, it went from being a turtle for God to like a hurtle for God. I was like hurtling, like a hurtling turtle, like, and it was phenomenal to watch, and such a privilege. It was almost like, so I'd be typing something, also listening to a talk, and then the words that I needed to type next, you would be saying in the talk. So I'd type that, and it was more like sewing than writing, because I was like sewing these stories, and having the framework of the 50 principles was really helpful, because I always kind of like rushed through that section of the book, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll come back to that. I don't really get what that is all about. So I can't, mind you, that was me for most of the book, to be honest. But I was like, I really want to figure this out. And there's something about, I felt Bill Thetford's presence very strongly at the beginning as well. It was almost like I could hear him singing and all kinds. It was like, a better way. A better way.
Wow, you were calling everybody in. Even the spirit of Bill Thetford was right there with you singing, serenading you on.
And I sort of realized that it was 50. Oh, because I was also born in 1972, which is why I noticed it was going to be 50 years this year since the course was finished, not published, but finished writing. So it's like, oh, that's interesting. I'm 50, the course is 50, and then there's these 50 principles of miracles. So it just seemed very given. And then one day I was on Facebook and I saw this painting Marguerite had done. It's actually in the back of the book now. It's blue, it's like coarse color blue, but with these bright splats. That's it. Yeah. And when I saw that painting for the first time, I heard very clearly, this is our front cover. So I was like, wow, okay, it's happening. because before that he'd just given me the title, didn't know what it meant, 50 Years of Miracles. I put a thing on Basecamp, like I thought maybe it was going to be a party, you know, like another celebration of illumination.
Party vibe. Isn't that lovely? That's kind of very abstract art.
Yeah,
50
yeah,
Years of Miracles, the art, the painting by Marguerite.
yeah.
Maybe you could share too, because Marguerite was a huge collaborator in this. Jason was there, I think Susan Husalak. It was interesting how everybody seemed to have their part to play. And then even when I saw the PDF file and everything, and I was like, wow, this is such a great book. I would love to have it be, and somebody could have it in their hand and carry it in their purse or just carry it with them in their car, their backpack. So then I started getting activated to, contact a man in Pakistan who could reformat things, and bringing in Lisa and saying, I think this is coming through. And she said, I'm not a book publisher. Why'd you call me? And I said, I don't know. I just am feeling Jesus call me. So it's like it grew and grew into a collaboration. And I think people who have done books know it's quite a collaborative effort to put together a book. Plus, when you have paintings, graphics, formatting, miracles principles, parables, and then try to make it cost effective. I think Jason had one printed on a print on demand, but it was like, I don't know, over 60 euros. And I said, it's a great coffee table book. It's spectacular with all those paintings by Marguerite. I mean, I could just use it as a meditation, but I said, not many people are going to be able to pay 63 euros for a book. So it's amazing how it's just like a huge collaboration, and we're doing it for Jesus. You know, we really feel the joy of Jesus in our hearts.
Yeah, totally. It was such a blessing to get to talk to Lisa, and then Francis was in the background on one of our calls. I was like, excuse me a moment. Then it come back. I was just so lit up, like the whole time. I was just lit. It was incredible. And I think one of the things I really want to share is when I was seemingly doing all this, it was like I was in this golden place, like very hard to describe. All I could think, it was golden. That's all I could think. That's why there's so much gold in the book, because it was like being immersed in liquid gold, you know, totally safe. And there was no sense of giving or receiving or anything like that. It was like the zone, but for 9 months. It was like 9 months of zone, and it affected everything in my life was also in that zone. I mean, I'm a parent. I don't know. Sometimes I'd look up, there'd be like 8 kids running around, like so much noise, and I was just like, just so focused. But yeah, it was that connection that, I mean, Jesus called it the emergency room, which I thought was really beautiful. It's like I was merging, and we're merging together. Really beautiful.
Yeah. It's interesting too. There's a part in the course where Jesus talks about, you know, this arc of golden light that surrounds everything, and then the edges fall away, and you see that there is only this light. It's an interesting verbal way of Jesus taking us into this vastness. And you were like in that during this whole process. Yeah, I was just looking at the goldenness on the top and the goldenness across here, and even the flowers are kind of golden. So that kind of golden glow that you were talking about, that you were in, it just kind of extended all the way in and through the book. So it's everywhere. They talk about crystal blue persuasion. This was a golden persuasion
so
that
much.
was surrounding you and carrying you.
Yeah. And it seems like the message for me was he'd never left. Like, even though I thought I'd finished with him in the playground, like through your parables, he was taking me through my parables. I was like, that happened to me. Oh, that happened to me. And I was like, you never left.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, so beautiful. Like, I thought I'd done something, you know, like I'd gone, I'd come back, or like, and it was like, no, he just wanted to show me he'd never left.
Yeah.
And like, that's the most incredible miracle of all, I think, is that realization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your dearest friend had never left you. And I think for me, it's been like 36 years with the course. And I can't tell you how many stories when I'm in someone's living room, or when somebody's just gives me a heart-to-heart story of how this happened, and then they left Jesus, and they feel like a sadness with that. But like, yeah, if you put yourself back in your shoes of being this schoolgirl and on the playground, and we love our friends when we're children, you know, they call it peer pressure, but at the time our friends are very important to us. And what they seem to think and believe and feel is very important to us. And it's part of this world where our identity is kind of frail and volatile, and we look outside ourselves to friends and family to inform us. Am I okay? Do you still love me? Am I enough? And yet I had another friend many years ago who, when she was 14, she was part of a Catholic family, and she went into the convent when she was 14, and she was in the convent from 14 to 22. And it's, you know, you're an novitiate, and you have to go through all these stages to ultimately to marry Jesus. You have to go through like 6 or 7 stages, and then in the end, you take your vows and you marry Jesus. Well, she got from 14, left school to go into the convent, 14 to 22. And then when she came to take her final vows and marry Jesus, she couldn't do it. She just bailed, and she left the convent. And after that, she was searching, and then she married a man. But the thing was, she always felt like a regret, like, oh, I left Jesus at the altar. I had an 8-year courtship with Jesus, and then I'd go to take the final vow, you know, put the wedding dress on and be married to Jesus, and I couldn't do it. I just told Mother Superior, I can't do it. But, you know, I remember telling her when she told me that story, I said, well, Jesus always comes back to you. And she was saying she'd worked with me 10 years before in an office. And when she re-met me, she said, you are not the same person. You're so happy and joyful, and you were so shy and timid and introverted. And now you're just so beaming and happy and joyful. And she said, what on earth happened to you in 10 years that made you change your whole personality? And I said, well, there's a Course in Miracles. What's that? It's Jesus. He's back for you. No one leaves Jesus at the altar. He will never give up. You can try to divorce him, but he's always there.
Yeah.
I even wrote a book called Quantum Forgiveness, Physics Meet Jesus. Yeah, science initially with Newton, and a lot of them tried to divorce Jesus, but then in the end, he's there in quantum physics too. He's been right there with us in everything we've tried. And even when we thought we were wandering, he's like, no, I'm still here. You didn't leave. We're right where we always have been together. And isn't that a wonderful feeling? I know you must feel just so joyful with that. Like, wow, I've never really left Jesus.
Yeah, it feels amazing. I think you were saying yesterday, when the beginning meets the end, it's like everything else in between is gone, because there never was a middle bit. And that's,
There
it's
never was
incredible.
a blip in the middle.
Yeah. Still trying to, like, I don't know, and it really feels like sometimes there's what I realized when Ken and Anna came to stay, I think, was that it's his love that does it all. I kept thinking I had to generate love somehow, and I just didn't have any, like even as a kid, like I was having some child abuse story going on, and I just thought I had no emotions like love. So I used to like fake love through using guilt a lot of the time. It's like the more guilty I felt, that was what I thought love was. And but when I was getting ready for Ken and Anna to come, basically this room I'm in at the moment used to be my work shed. And it was filled to the brim with all things which I'd tried and stopped, bits of equipment. And he got me on a mission, like a 21-day mission, to clean out this shed and put some beds in
A
and that for
guest
Ken
room.
and Anna.
Your shed became a guest room.
Yeah.
Now it's a
And it was,
broadcast room.
yeah,
We're
it was just
broadcasting all
incredible.
over with it.
Yeah. And it was the same as doing the book. He had me on a mission. I was doing 6 trips to the tip a day, massive fires was going on. And but all I could feel was this huge love that was coming through me for them and also for me and Jean. And it was like when I thought I was finished, he was putting these beautiful little touches, like really thoughtful touches. And it was, again, it was just incredible. And it was really relaxing for me to realize that I really can just step that there's just no need for the ego. It can do nothing for me, like at all. And it was just beautiful. And then when they came, there was no sense of there was people. It was like sitting with myself or sitting with Jesus. It was just beautiful. And everyone that came, they met my family, my neighbors, people from all different walks of life just came. I didn't invite anyone specifically. And it was just so peaceful and blessed. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And the pictures you saw on Facebook was us. We went to the garden centre, we bought plants, and they planted themselves in the garden of my heart. It was just it was just blessed.
Yeah. That really reminds me like of just the online retreat we just had. At the very end there was Johnny Jacks and his wife Faye, and they had a long stretch. They knew each other, then they were apart for 56 years, and then they're back together, and now they're selling their house and going out in a motorhome just to bless everyone that they meet. And I think that's so beautiful because that's the answer right there. If we just see it's always our own lesson, and it's a lesson in giving the blessing, giving the miracle, extending the love, letting Jesus come through us, then it's really simple. Once you try to take A Course in Miracles and you try to put it in a box, as if there's teachers and students, when he teaches us in the manual for teachers that teaching goes on all the time because you're teaching with your thoughts, you're teaching with your attitude. It's taking it away from the roles, teachers and students. And when I would travel around, I loved going around wherever I was invited, staying with a host for as long as I felt guided, and they felt guided to have me there, and meeting the family, meeting the neighbors, meeting the friends. I had a friend, Jim Werdeman, in Georgia, and I went down. He was a retired pilot. He had been a priest and a pilot, and he lived in a suburban neighborhood where all these retired pilots were all in houses together, and they had a runway strip in their backyard, and they shared the runway and would, for fun, take their little Cessna planes up. But when I went to meet Jim one time, he said, "David, I want to take you around to every house in the neighborhood. I want you to meet all the people." And he was like like, I don't know, about 6'9", and he would take me and he'd say, "Come on, let's go in one house. Hey, knock, knock, knock. Hey, I want you to meet my friend David. Da da da. Let's have something to drink. Let's sit down, have a lemonade or a nice tea." Then the next house, "Hey, knock, knock, knock. This is my friend David." I thought, wow, this is Georgia hospitality. This is Jesus coming through Jim. And that's what I think when Ken and Anna were coming and you just felt like you were just sitting with yourself and Jesus was there. It's so different than thinking of A Course in Miracles as like a profession where you've got to go from hotel to hotel and city to city and Course in Miracles gathering to Course in Miracles gathering, because you miss smelling the roses when you can stay with the people and meet their family, meet their neighbors. Like Kenneth is always talking about too, just, wow, I got to meet so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. And you never know what you're going to walk into. When we were talking on the live the other day, he said, yeah, one time they were upstairs and two people were arguing downstairs in the living room. He just walks right down into the argument and sits down. And before you know it, through kindness and friendliness and Jesus just pouring through, everybody feels grateful. The argument ends. And to me, that's what living A Course in Miracles is. It's not just books and seminars and here and there and conferences. It's you in hotels. You miss the joy of the flowers. You don't see all the flowers. You don't see the whole rainbow unless you really put your heart into it and meet everyone with a blessing. And so there it was, you guys. I mean, I could see it on the photographs on Facebook. Jean coming up from Paris and just happy, happy, happy all over the place.
Yeah, it was just amazing. I went down to Devon to meet them again just before they went. And that was another, it was like my first road trip. And I got like, it was just another like huge heart opening time, because I had this image that I was going to, because it was in Devon right by the sea. I was like, oh yeah, I'll go down a good day early, I'll sit on the beach and I'll feel all peace, you know, planning how I was going to feel on this beach. Yeah, it didn't work out like that. I ended up getting a migraine because I just drove straight through. It was supposed to be like 4 hours. It took me 6.5 hours. Drove straight through, nothing to eat or anything. Sat on the beach, started throwing up on the beach. Basically, it was a mess. And then, but the next day with the gathering, that's when the peace came, and it was like another lesson. Like, it's not in any place. It's not anywhere. It's right here in the mind, like in the joining. Something about, yeah, when you join with something, that's where it is. And yeah, so it was another beautiful experience, and it just keeps on coming. And that kind of led me to really look around and think, hold on, all these images that I've made, they don't love me back. You know, I love the beach doesn't love me, you know. And then I was like, this must be the same for all the images I see. And I started looking at, like, even my family. It's like, these are images I've made and they're not going to love me back. And then what came to mind was the two pictures Jesus talks about in the Course. It's like, when I look at a person, I can see the ornate frame with the drops of blood and all that, or I can see the frameless picture that is real. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment, is just really, I want to feel that connection, like, for real, not my imagination, not anything else, just reality and truth.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I do like that two picture analogy, because the frame is really, in that analogy, is the body, and then the other one is just lightly framed, where the body doesn't draw your attention, and you feel just the love in the connection, which is which is in our hearts and in our minds. And before I came on with you, I happened to see an article, and it was an article about Dolly Parton and meeting her husband, Carl. She was in a laundromat, and Carl was just driving by in Tennessee, probably some little town in Tennessee, was just driving by, and he looked in and saw Dolly Parton, a very young Dolly Parton, in the laundromat. And he stopped his car, parked his car, and went in there. And he said, "Your skin is so light. You have to watch it. You can't be out in the sunshine. You could damage that beautiful white skin that you've got." But she said she noticed that the whole conversation, he just kept looking at her face, looking right into her eyes, and she felt this deep connection. And she didn't really know what he was thinking, but she felt this deep, like, heart-to-heart connection. And then later he said, "Well, actually, what I was thinking of, this is the woman I'm going to marry." That was what was going on in his mind as he's looking her right in the eye. And now she's like 75 years old. They've been married all these years. And to me, that's kind of a symbol of the picture, the frame. If people are too focused on the body, on the behaviors and everything, they say the windows are like the eyes of the soul. There was this contact in a laundromat between two people, and it's gone on in I would say a very holy relationship. There's lots of light that has come through that relationship that really blesses the whole world. Even people that I know were actresses that were Dolly Parton doubters or haters, over time they say, "What a blessing she is. What a wise woman. What kindness, what sweetness comes through Dolly." So in the end, it's the sweetness wins out. The kindness wins out. The honesty wins out. The heartfelt experience just wins out. And that's just where we're at. I think that's why we just pray every day, and we just say, "Okay, here's a new day. Show me what I'm supposed to see, and let me be an instrument of your love." And like you're saying, you don't have to figure it out as a person. How am I going to love like Jesus? It's more just stepping out of the way and saying, "Use me, use my heart, use my spirit, my mind, my thoughts. Use me in a way that brings a blessing." So it's so nice that it's so simple and sweet.
Yeah. It ends up simple. You're like, so simple. It's hard to get out of your own way, though. I think you were talking about that recently as well. It's like when you're still valuing something of the world, like you're in your own way, really, basically, aren't you? And it was really just this last week when I was looking at the relationships I have with everything. Actually, it's not just a relationship in terms of people. I was like, oh yeah, there's relationships with food, there's relationships with all different things, and I want to see what's truly there. Actually, one night the table finally told me what it meant, and then I woke up and I'd forgotten.
The quick amnesia came over. The table told me what is the universe is all about, but then I forgot. Can you tell me again, table? Yeah. I think it's beautiful, though, how for everyone it comes in a way that can reach them. Like you were saying, we talked for a few minutes before we started about how the parables were so important for you because, reading the course wasn't always just click, click, click. It was like, what did I just read there? And then the parables kind of like lit you up, like really touched your heart. And it was the same for me. I mean, I used the course as an oracle, during the first 2.5, 3 years, just praying and opening the book. And it was very helpful to me that way. It was like an oracle. And then I got to a point where, let's say, probably about 4 years after I had the book, after I found the course in California, I took a road trip up to the Catskill Mountains where Ken and Gloria Wapnick had their Foundation for A Course in Miracles. And I would go up there a few times. And once when I was up there, I was just in this, they had the sunroom with all the books, library books, and they had Krishnamurti videos, which I watched. Sometimes I couldn't sleep, so the door was open. I'd go in there 2 and 3 in the morning watching Krishnamurti, feeling all this sparkle in my heart. And then I remember pulling up a little thin book, about as thin as this one, and it was like I pulled it off the shelf in their sunroom, and it was called "The Peace of God Is My One Goal" by Barbara and Robert Varley. And I opened it up, and there was a nice little handwritten note from Barbara to Ken and Gloria. And then I started reading it, chapter 1. And it had a workbook lesson, and then it had a parable, and then a workbook lesson and a parable. Well, it's probably 3 in the morning. I was reading it, and I thought, oh my God, I never heard of this book before, but this is so touching. I was so moved by the parables. They were really showing the meaning of the workbook lesson. So I just got a little cassette tape recorder that I had, and I read the book aloud. I did my first audio book for myself, of course, because I wanted to, as I traveled around, I wanted to play and listen. So I listened to that little book, "The Peace of God Is My One Goal," on my own little cassette recorder over and over, while I was doing the same thing that they had been doing, traveling around to basements, backyards, churches, bookstores, anywhere Spirit guided me. So I think with the book that you really helped compile with Melanie Doyle, she kind of compiled some parables, and you dove in, and then you did writing, and then everybody played their part. That's what I heard from Jesus. It was like Jesus was saying, remember how touched you were back in like 1990 when you came across that book of theirs, and how it propelled you, it propelled your confidence, it propelled your trust, it propelled your faith. And then you went on to share it. Later on, when Barbara passed away, I contacted Robert, who was at the time in Texas, married to Shaka. And so it was Robert and Shaka Varley at that time. And then I said, that book was so helpful for me. That was so transformational. And he said, well, come on out here. Look, in my garage, see all those boxes of books? I said, yeah. He said, those are the books. The Peace of God Is My One Goal. And I said, what are they doing in this garage? They should be all over the world. So I had my friends Resta and Kathy transcribe the book. I put it online as an ebook, kind of a PDF version. And then he kept sending me boxes of books. And I was like the traveling mystic with going around in a little car. So I would load up boxes of The Peace of God Is My One Goal, put it on the internet, and take it around and just hand it out at course gatherings. And people would write to me. They'd go, my God, that little tiny book changed my life. That book, you have no idea, David. So that's kind of one of those reasons. That's why when you had done this book, it started off as just an EPUB, I think we had, and a PDF. And then Jesus was like, come on, David, you know how helpful that little book of parables was for you. Why don't you help get this one extended more? So that's when, you got to meet Lisa. Francis was in the background. You see, Jesus has fun bringing in all the collaborators just to carry the original gift. And then we put that on our website. It's still there, I think, on livingmiracles.org for free if people want to download it for free. But now some people, they like to have something in their hands. They like to mark it up and get their highlighter out, and and then with Mark Reed's paintings, that's like the bonus of this. This is just one, but there's oh my gosh, there's so many that are even the backdrops for the principles. There's a beautiful painting, and then you've got the principles, and that's not so easy to see, but you can see there in between. This is kind of a a sparkly, artistic parable book is kind of what it seems to be.
Yeah, yeah. And Margaret's journey with the paintings itself, I mean, if you're a reader of art, like her journey with that, I remember seeing Margaret on a couple of expressions on the retreats, and she was just having this huge experience that she didn't understand, and it was just like just all howling out of her onto this canvas. And they just were so beautiful. I mean, she started like just painting everything she felt, and I don't know, that every single painting's just stunning. Like even the printed versions don't do the justice. And
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
she's been a wonderful. It's funny, like couple of months after we started joining, we was doing regular joining and expressions together, I found her name written in one of my journals where I'd seen her on screen expressing about this art, and I'd written her name down. And yeah, it's just really so it's almost like there's many stories in one book with many stories.
Yeah. And how painting could be a whole pathway to God, because it's just another opportunity to surrender. And I know with Slava, my friend Janie, a lot of times the painting, like my friend Janie, she basically wasn't a painter until she had this really deep mystical experience. And then after the mystical experience, the spirit just started painting these amazing paintings through her. It's almost like channeled art,
Yeah.
and I feel that with Marguerite, that I know that's been with everything she's dealt with in her life. The paintings have been a means of communication and a means of expression and healing and clearing. So it's really appropriate that they ended up in this book.
Yeah.
For what I mean, the original book that you did it was very big, and that they printed for me for 63 euros and as a coffee table book. And I would just sit there with the big print and the spectacular paintings, like full paintings, color paintings. I would, whoa, and then, whoa, into another one. It was like a deep experience to go through that. It was because it was so big. It was in my hands, a hardcover. So I still have a copy of that at the Peace House.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's lovely. It's an adventure.
It was almost like each painting reminded me of somebody, like the painting I used for Kirsten's parable, for example, just reminded me of her. Like it was all gold and blue and like so peaceful. And the way she talked about diving into the water, it was just like, oh. So everyone's painting that's with their story just it was, I don't know, just very deep.
It is a collaborative book. I mean, we have parables in there from the original founders, some and parables from my experience, and Kirsten and Lisa and Francis. And it's so beautiful as you go through, because you can see the miracles are kind of just like cascading out, and there's nothing really personal about it. We experience it through what seems to be persons, but then we feel the essence. Like you even have the colors, the yellow and the blue, when you have Kirsten and sharing the parallel, and then you put the colors and the painting and everything in there together. So it's like a really felt, intuitive extension of what you were feeling in that golden light is what comes through in this book. And then I'm sure for the reader too, it's felt. It's very, very felt.
I hope so, because it was also the year there was so much extension coming from the community. We had the CASA program. Francis was doing the Francis Zoo show. Or was it Out of the Blue? and Ken had to get real. It was just, there was so much coming out, and I was just so inspired by the stories that I was hearing. And I realized there's no separation. Like, you can't just talk about David Hoffmeister without talking about
There's a
everybody.
lot
You know,
there.
everyone that you met, like thousands of people all present. And yeah, and that's how it kind of felt. And even Jason was, I said to Jason, he was like the gold running through the book, because so many of the parables, he was like there witnessing as well, like in the background, or, you know, just, it's just so one.
It's funny. He was in the background, and then as we start this broadcast, he calls at the very moment where I'm ready to press the go live button, and my phone was on, which I usually have it off, and I'm like, oh, so that's where he got into this one too.
Yeah,
The way
that's
to get in,
classic.
all of them. It's a classic Jason move.
Yeah, beautiful.
Well, I'm just so grateful. Yeah, I felt it would be so wonderful to talk to you about this, because I think it's just something that comes from your heart, and then, like you said, you felt all the extensions that the community was doing, and then you just jumped right in. It's like if we were all in a swimming pool, you went running in glee and just jumped. I'm in there too. I'm coming in there. Splash. Big cannonball into the pool. But it really is an honor and a treat to be together like this and share this joy. And they say the Holy Spirit is the spirit of joy, and the Holy Spirit's curriculum is a curriculum of joy. So I feel that really comes through. That's like the spirit behind everything we extend. And and so thank you for your part in this golden book that came through. And I know it will bless many, many, maybe we have no idea, for generations even, because that's one of the things I liked about reading the New Testament. I get the Bible with the red letters, and Jesus was the red letters. And then a lot of what he taught was in parables, because it was too deep for the people, the consciousness of the people. But he would like throw out a parable and preface it with just a few words: for those that have the ears to hear, let them hear. And then tell this parable, which is really just illustrating something even much more deeper than the parable. And I think that's what this does. The paintings and the words are just helping people get in touch with the joy in their own heart. And that's the most you can do as a book, or as anything in this world, a painting, is just help people remember the love, the truth.
And that he never left, not even for a second.
Never left. You didn't do what you thought you did. Jesus was there, still is there all along. Well, thank you, Lucy. And thank you to all of you who tuned in today. And if you enjoyed this, just share it with your friends. And that's how it works. Spread the seeds. Okay. Lots of love.
Lots of love. Thank you, David.
Thank you.